to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, hit the notification bell. So every time I drop a video, you will be notified. Man, let's go to this click to Houston.com article. And as you can see, it says Houston ISD to eliminate librarians, turn some libraries into discipline centers. Before we read the article, let's watch the video, shall we?
Now at 6, libraries are being cut from some HISD schools.
Librarians are concerned the move will cripple the learning curve for students.
I actually think it's a significant disservice to the students of HISD.
The central office numbers. And
tonight, city leaders are also pushing back on Superintendent Mike Miles's latest move to overhaul the district. The district says the libraries will be converted to team centers for students with behavioral issues.
KPRC2's Corley Peel live outside Pew Elementary with what this move means for current librarians. Corley.
Yeah, Pew Elementary is one of the schools that will no longer have a library or have that librarian position. And Mayor Sylvester Turner also weighed in today, saying that this move is unacceptable. I spoke with some former librarians who say that this could hurt student performance.
A school library is a wealth of knowledge. Former librarian Lisa Robinson says it's full of some of the greatest stories ever told.
It was just such a joy to help them find that perfect book.
She says those stories now ripped to shreds.
My heart is just broken for these children who are in the NES schools that are losing their librarians.
As of this week, librarian positions at 28 new education system schools are eliminated. The district says librarians at NES and NES-aligned schools can transition to other roles in the district. Libraries in 57 NES schools will be assessed on a case-by-case basis. Superintendent Mike Miles says students are behind on reading levels, especially in 4th grade. Former ISD librarian and manager of library services, Janice Newsom, says eliminating librarian positions will hurt reading performance even more.
When students engage in reading as an activity of choice, they are not only building that reading muscle, but they are also developing their vocabulary. They're understanding a bit about the world that exists outside of their 3-block radius.
The schools impacted are in predominantly underserved communities.
Our less fortunate students are the ones who suffer the most, primarily because many of them live in situations that are reading deserts. Okay, they simply don't have access to the reading materials. They don't have choice in the reading materials that they are given to read.
Robinson hopes the district can piece back the stories that students may never learn.
And the retired librarians that I spoke with say that it is concerning that the library will now be used as a place where students will receive punishment and also double as those team centers as well. Now, we did reach out to the superintendent's office for comment today, and they said that they would not be doing any interviews, and we tried to ask why this move was necessary, but they did say the superintendent will be taking questions during his family planning event tomorrow night. So we will be attending that meeting. Again, the district also says that students will have access to the libraries at the NES schools before and after class, but we of course will keep you updated as we learn more. Reporting live from East Houston, Corley Peel, KPRC 2 News.
Okay, and as you saw, this is something that a lot of the districts, a lot of former librarians do not agree with it, but let's read it right quick. It says Houston Independent School District will be eliminating librarian positions at 28 schools this upcoming year and utilizing some of the libraries as team centers where kids with behavioral issues will be sent, the district announced. Now, I don't know how Houston School District is. Never been there, don't plan on going. But I did go to the Dallas Independent School District. Now, Houston's new superintendent, Mike Miles, used to be the superintendent down here in Dallas. And a few years ago, he got ran off. Now, he was superintendent long after I had graduated high school or got out of school, period. But he tried to bring in some programs, and a lot of people bucked at it. And so he, eventually stepped down and moved on. He came from Colorado, came to Dallas, was there about, I want to say 3 to 5 years, and he was out of there. And so there's a lot of controversy with his hiring practices, of who he hired, background searches, how he involved himself into some independent investigations that he shouldn't have been participating in, and things like that. I think he tried to bring in systems like a merit system, a pay for merit system that teachers would get certain pay based on how the kids respond to that teacher. Whatever the case, he ended up resigning. But like I was saying, I went to Dallas, and when you had kids that were disruptive, you had a place either called study hall, right? Or in-house suspension. But yeah, basically it'd be the kids would be sent to study hall, and you just sit in this big old concrete room and supposedly do your homework. The work is sent down there, and you got to do it, and then you give it to the study hall teacher or monitor or whatever, and he or she turn the work in for you. And that was pretty much it. You couldn't come out except for lunch, which was like the lunch after lunch. So we had like A, B, C, and D lunch. So you couldn't come out to like after D lunch once everybody had eaten. And then you sit in that room until school lets out. But now it seems that Houston wants to use the libraries, or Mike Miles want to use the libraries in a lot of these underprivileged, underperforming schools as a place to send little hardheads. I'm not really for that, but let me keep reading. This comes as part of the new Superintendent Mike Miles' reform program, new education system. Currently, there are a total of 85 schools that have joined Miles' program, and of those, 28 campuses will lose their librarians. The district said they will have the opportunity to transition to other roles within the district. The remaining 57 NES schools, librarians, will be assessed on a case-by-case basis according to the district. Retired HISD teacher in charge of librarian Lisa Robinson believes the library is full of some of the greatest stories ever told. It was just such a joy to help them find the perfect book. Yeah, this is why I don't understand it. So basically what they're saying is, and you saw the video, the kids that are underperforming or who are disruptive will be sent to the library, and they will be able to join their class, what they call it, remotely, I guess through computers or a screen or something. My question is, how are you going to make these kids pay attention outside of class if they didn't pay attention in class? You're going to have to, hire more staff to monitor these kids? So you're going to utilize more financial resources on things that you shouldn't have to? It makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. And then I also remember when I was back in school, they wouldn't even let us go to matter of fact, it was me and a friend of mine. We had this whole Black Watch group when I was in high school. And so we would, get a lot of information on Black history, current information, historical information. And then we would go down to like the student center or close to the student center, and we would share the information with each other. And then people would come around and listen to us. They started listening to us, so we just started making it just a weekly thing that we would do, that we would just meet and people would come and listen to what we got to say. They banned us from going to the library before school. They kicked us. We had a library would kick us out. It got to the point where the principal pretty much told us we couldn't even have our little talks, our little meetings, or anything before school, or anywhere on campus, But it was not like an organized meet. It was just 3 or 4 of us would meet and people would just listen to us. They told us we couldn't go nowhere on campus and do this. But yet, you would have cats that were in gangs, and we knew the gangs. And they could be sitting in the middle of the student center or meet anywhere on the campus together, and nobody would say nothing. No one would tell them to break it up or anything like that. You have goth groups that would hang around each other, sitting outside smoking cigarettes. Nobody tell them to break up. But us, we were doing something positive. And like I said, we couldn't go to the library in the morning. Matter of fact, they made it so we couldn't go to the library, period. And like I said, we couldn't meet. So, I mean, it's weird. I don't be understanding what these schools are really trying to accomplish. But anyway, so you're gonna have these bad kids in the library. The books will still be there. They said they'll be there on a merit system, somewhere I read. So the books won't be utilized during school, but you can utilize them before and after school. So my question is, how you gonna do it with a lot of these kids? Because they're in like underserved, underprivileged, underperforming schools. A lot of time these kids are catching buses, or they're walking to school in the morning, walking home or catching buses home in the evening, so they can't use the library after school or before school for a long period of time because they got to catch the bus home or they got to catch a ride home. And now you don't want kids walking to school or walking from school really by themselves. If they got a group of friends they walk with and they're like, well, I got to stay after school, I got to get some books out the library, and then everybody leave them, so now they on the streets by themselves. I mean, you got to think of this. You got to think this stuff out. And it seems like they didn't think. It seems like they didn't think it out. So the funny thing is, they're doing this, like I said, in the underprivileged schools, the underperforming schools. But see, it's not the kids' fault, because people will say, these kids can't read in fourth, but they say they can't read. They're reading under a 4th grade level in the 4th grade anyway. So what's the point? Ain't like they're losing nothing. Well, the thing is, it's not the kids' fault that they can't read. It's the adults' fault. It starts with the parents, the guardians, teachers, librarians, principals, all that kind of stuff. You're not instilling a want or a need for learning. You're just not. I remember, like with my daughters, they not only had to do their schoolwork during the year. If they seemed like they was bored and needed something to do, I would have them reading, especially in the summertime. Because I remember growing up, we used to have like these summer reading programs. You can read a certain amount of books. You come back, you can get free books. Hey, you might even get tickets to Six Flags. But now it's like, I don't know, did they cut all that out? I know kids, children. I got little babies that be running around the house. Sometimes, well, they're not little babies now, but they enjoy reading. They enjoy learning. They like to read, like to draw, paint, things like that, to be creative. What's ruined these kids, well, bottom line, it is adults, but what's ruining these kids' ability to learn are these electronics. Now, people say they don't have to have books. They can get access to books all online. I never did like that. To me, that seems like it makes it worse for them, to be trying to make them read. I mean, I give, like, case in point, like I said, I told my daughters, during the summer they had to read. Now I've always had a shelf with books on it, albeit no matter if it's a small shelf or a big shelf, I always had books on it for them to read. Kids, when they get a certain age, like I said, they're not reading for education is not the first thing they're gonna do. Now, my oldest daughter, that child used to read books all the time, but she liked novels like Nora Roberts books and stuff. She loved them books. She would read them all the time. She get the newest one and read them. She just go to the bookstore and buy different books. That's what she did. I don't know what she's doing now at home, because I mean, she's grown and living on her own, but that's what she would do. Like I said, I would have, like I said, both of my children always reading in the summertime, whether they like to or not. Go in there, grab a book, read it, give me a summary. This, that, and the third. Because, the older they get, kids not going to want to read. But when they're young, that's when you got to steal. I'm talking about like 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. I remember being a kid. My mom used to read. Well, I don't remember when she used to read to me because I was little, but she had tapes that we used to listen to where she'd be reading me books. We have tapes and videos of her reading my sister books. And I've told stories about this on past videos, so I won't get too involved in it. But she created people. She had kids who sought out information to learn. So that's why I have books. And I like to read. To me, I read mainly for education. I don't read too much for entertainment. I read more for education and knowledge now. I watch TV. Most stuff I do is to learn. Not a whole lot. I mean, entertainment sometimes, but not a whole lot. But anyway, like I said, it's the adults who are not putting it in these kids' minds to read. And then they give them this electronic device and they say, here, go play, leave me alone. Or you try to trust kids to sit here and actually look up education stuff. And COVID showed that this was not a good idea. It's like we forgot about that. How reading scores and test scores and all that kind of stuff plummeted during COVID because kids were at home. They had the laptops and they supposed to log into class, and they showed that the majority of these kids were not logging into class, were not doing the classwork, and their grades shot down. We're talking about kids who got low attention spans, short attention spans. They're not going to sit there and get on a device to where they can look up anything they want to, watch any video they want to, listen to anything they want to. And you thinking junior high, preteens, high school kids, again, if you haven't already instilled the need to learn in them, you thinking that these kids are going to actually just do it on their own. They haven't done up till that point with your help or lack thereof. How you think they're going to do it? Actually being at home 8 to 10 hours a day because their parents have to work. It just doesn't make sense. So now you're going to put these kids in the library. Like, they're not going to read them books. I mean, like I said, I got books in my house. The kids don't just come in here and grab books. Not the books I got. Unless I tell them to. Now, if it's something that they want to read, they'll come get it. But they're not just going to get up every day and say, hey, I feel like reading a book on Black history, or a book on taxes, or a book on, I don't know, the record label. I don't know. They just say, they're not going to do that just on their own. So I don't understand this. I'm not really in approval for this. So they're going to get rid of the librarians, but they can get other positions in the district. Mike Miles is saying that, the libraries won't be closed. It's just going to be repurposed, which again makes no sense. He's saying that these kids don't read on or behind on reading levels, especially at 4th grade, which is across the nation. I did a video on that about, I think, Tennessee, and how their 4th graders are not reading on a 4th grade level. And like the librarian said in this quote, when students engage in reading as an activity of choice, they are not only building that reading muscle, they are developing their vocabulary, and they are understanding a bit about the world that exists outside the block radius, which is true. Books have always been an escape from reality, especially when you're reading for entertainment or education too. Because just got done reading a book about this young tax lawyer wrote a book about taxes and how it helped create white wealth and destroy black wealth in the process. I mean, you read this stuff, you learn the vocabulary, you get knowledge that you can bring out to the world. You learn about what's really going on in the world you know nothing about. That's what books are for. And this quote said, our less fortunate students are the ones that suffer the most, primarily because Many of them live in situations that are reading deserts or deserts, probably deserts. They don't have access to the reading materials. They don't have a choice in the reading materials that they are given to read. Well, they do have access because they have a library at school. The problem is no one is encouraging them or giving them incentives to read. And the older they get, the less they're going to be inclined to want to go and read. So again, you got to start when they're babies. It says libraries won't be closed, just used for different purposes. It says turn to team centers designed for students to work individually or in teams throughout the school day. Students with behavior issues will also be placed in the team center. So you're going to have kids who may be trying to work, and you're going to have kids with behavioral issues in the same building. Like I say, what happened to study hall, in-house suspension? This is ridiculous. So these libraries will now be available to students who are dropped off at school before classes begin or after school before they go home. Again, if you're catching a bus, you won't be able to go to the library. They just got to make, you know what? They shouldn't get rid of libraries. So put these kids back in the study hall room, put them on F lunch, and call it a day. But they need to keep these libraries open all day and keep the librarians, because you're going to need an adult who can navigate. Shoot, even now, I go to the library still. And if I'm looking for a book, yep, I may go in the computer and look for a book, see if I can find it. But me, I'll always utilize a librarian. Say, hey, where are these books at? Because a librarian could quite possibly say, oh, this subject here, I know about this subject. Let me find you a good book. Let me show you a good book on this. And that's where the adventure begins. But with nobody in the building, this is not what they call it, an Amazon grocery store, where you just go in there and just, shopping, and there are no employees on the inside. Just go in there shopping and you walk out, and your car to be charged when you leave. This ain't that. I'm talking about kids whose minds are developing, who need all the help it can get to get through school. And now you're going to make it that much harder. But I'm interested in seeing what Mr. Miles is going to say and going to do and how this works out. Because I don't see any positivity in this. It just seems like they're just trying to build more bridges, wider and more accessible bridges with the school to prison pipeline. Because it just seems like they're going to make our people just that much more dumber. But anyway, tell me what you think about this story, man. Leave your comments below and then share it with the world. And with that being said, I leave you in peace, and I'll see you on the other side.